They try to keep you alive upon utter desperation. They won't know the mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlife. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody wants to be in church forever. think about. Death is swept under the carpet in our country. In the hospital, they try to keep you alive from utter desperation. They won't know the mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody wants to be in church forever. They try to keep you alive from utter desperation. They won't know the mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody wants to be in church forever.
Clint and his homies are finally touching grass and going outside. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we will be going live for the next 2 hours talking about all the crazy news happening right now in our political discourse, as of course there are a lot of crazy news headlines out there specifically about immigration. Lots of people being prosecuted. Democrats still trying to go after Trump after a major Supreme Court victory. What's going on here? Well, we're going to be discussing that plus a lot more all for the next 2 hours. So make sure you send this broadcast to your friends and family members. That is more imperative than ever and key to our survival as an independent media organization. Can't thank you guys enough for making this podcast as big as it is, as great as it is. And it's really up to you to get it out there to the general public, and it means a lot when you guys do that. So thank you again in advance for sharing this video. As of course, you guys get to also participate in the conversation by simply signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com, and you get a lot of really awesome offers of value, including the ability to call into the show as we are going to be taking callers in about an hour and a half from now. Feel free to ask us whatever. There's no screening. You could show us whatever. We're going to be on a free speech platform, so feel free to make use of that time as much as you can. As of course, we also just had a really incredible meetup in real life this Saturday, which was really fun, really incredible. We're going to be talking about that later. As of course, you could also participate in the conversation through Rumble Rants, Super Chats, and of course, mysuperchat.com. It's in the description, and it's a way for you guys to get your text on screen, and we will be doing our best to read every single super chat, Rumble Rant, and mysuperchat.com that you guys send us, as of course it keeps us fully independent and not having to rely on advertisers, which we might have to rely on soon, but we can't thank you enough for your support. It really does mean a lot. As of course, we have really awesome, incredible people joining us in studio for these conversations, as today we are joined by Brianna Morell. Brianna, for the people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I would tell you that I'm a former Fox producer. I left over the vaccine mandate that they were imposing, so now I am hosting my own show. It's going quite well so far, and that's the Brianna Morell Show. Unique title, obviously. And yeah, we're doing that 5 days a week these days.
That's important to brand with the name, though. A lot of people go with show names. I went with Liberty Lockdown. I should have gone with Clint Russell Show. Anyways, Clint Russell.
I went with the very humble, the best political show.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead, Clint.
Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, co-host of Tower Gang, which you should not watch, and co-host of The Best Political Show, which you should absolutely subscribe to right this MFing second, ladies and gentlemen. I am in a non-irritable mood today, so it'll be much better than last Wednesday. I apologize already in advance for being so discontented.
See, I told you that walk that Clint took earlier, as we documented in the beginning of this video, makes things so much better.
You just got to touch grass, ladies and gentlemen. And we got Steph on the buttons.
Steph here on the button. Steph WeAreChange on Insta. Let's go.
Atlas is joining us as well. Atlas, please get on the couch here, as she is...
get in your station, woman.
Thank you so much for joining us, Atlas. She's the real star of the show here. As of course, there's a lot of different things to discuss today, not just the Supreme Court ruling, but there's a lot of news specifically surrounding immigration, as we have an article here describing how the Biden administration just admitted to flying 320,000 migrants secretly into the United States in order to reduce the number of crossings at the border. This, as of course, a lot of people are bringing up national security vulnerabilities, and this is shocking. This is, I believe, the weaponization of human trafficking. I believe that people that are not documented literally being able to fly when we as citizens are mandated to have federal state identification systems that are all tracking, tracing, databasing us. As of course, now we have this freaking official federal program that we all have to be linked together in federal databases, but you walk across the border, you literally get a free airplane ticket, which happens to a lot of these individuals without even proper identification, without proper security screenings. We don't know who these individuals are, but your tax dollars are now being paid to fly these people all throughout the United States. As of course, this is not only going to be affecting the larger political representation in Congress, this is also going to be affecting a lot of people in the local regions that have to deal with an influx of people that are going to be making housing more expensive, labor more cheap. And again, this is just new information coming out, and it kind of makes me wonder, what else are they keeping from us as 320,000 flights are a lot of freaking flights. That's a lot of freaking individuals. What do you guys think is the stuff that we don't even know about?
Well, what's really concerning to me is that they said to disclose the location of these flights, like where they actually landed, would be a national security threat. What? So yeah, I mean, 320,000. What I found interesting too, upon reading the article, was that they were saying that these people were allowed to apply for asylum from, and they listed like 7 or 8 different Latin and South American nations, and I'm like, okay, so you're now paying for people's flights to come from their actual locale. Like we're not just funding the UN, which is funding these NGOs to help people on their walking path to get here. We're also paying for people's flights with taxpayer money to get them into the country. It's bizarre.
From outside of the United States into the United States. Just how much more egregious could it freaking get here?
I don't see an issue with any of this. No, I'm kidding. It's so egregious. But this
Former
is
Democrat here.
I know.
The New Yorkers. The New Yorkers explains it.
I mean, it's so egregious, but you know what? This is what's going on in the country right now. When you ask questions, they don't want to give you answers. You know, I reached out to TSA specifically and asked them what kind of documents these illegals have to present to get on these flights, because they say that they're giving us documents. And then TSA told me that those documents come from DHS. So I asked DHS, what are they giving you guys? And DHS gave me a very blah statement. And then accidentally, TSA CC'd me in an email that they weren't supposed to, where DHS was calling me an unfavorable reporter and to not respond. And so it was quite funny, but they are literally coordinating to hide things from the American people. They don't want you to know what kind of documents they're turning over, because their documents are either illegitimate because they have no way of proving whether they're real or not, or they're not giving you anything because they're dumping them before they get into the United States. So we're seeing this all around, and it's just disgusting.
And we're paying for all of this. This is our tax dollars at work here, as of course the dollar keeps getting inflated, the purchasing power keeps going down, but we have to pay for people to fly into the United States. Are you kidding me? Like forget about leaving the border open. They're openly saying, hey, we got an airplane here, get on in. We're gonna take care of you guys, don't worry. And it's not them, it's you, the taxpayer, that's going to be burdened with a lot of these penalties, fees, and money that of course they think comes out of thin air.
I feel like she buried the lead on her take there. What the hell's an unfavorable reporter? Aren't all reporters supposed to be unfavored?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's actually an honor. And TSA actually asked me to remove, because I posted the actual email online. I said this is actually an endorsement now because I am unfavorable, which is great, which is what every reporter should be called.
Yeah.
But
isn't that the whole idea of the fourth estate? Like,
no one pushes back these days. Everyone just kind of compliant.
That's amazing that they would actually say that, though.
I would create shirts automatically, and then just to step it up lower, loomer level, get wrist armbands as well.
I love it.
So, no, you should absolutely make shirts like that, because it's absolutely ridiculous the stance that they have towards people who are just trying to find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're a threat. It's not like you're trying to accuse people of something that they're not doing. You're just trying to find out what's going on, and automatically they're putting up their defenses like a total abusive scumbag would act in an abusive relationship that most of us are in with the federal government that, of course, we never consented to.
Well, I think that's exactly why their defenses are up, is because they are abusing us and they don't want to actually tell the truth about what's happening. I just wish that there was, I don't understand how any of this is legal.
Exactly.
It seems like it ought to be criminal what they're doing, and yet where are the Republican AGs? Where are the lawsuits?
Yep.
Where are the criminal charges? This all seems like a very overt criminal operation to me. Am I crazy?
Would be a good time to use RICO, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you would
Not
think.
in Fulton County, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because we talk about this stuff all the time and what they're doing right now. And the NGOs are so important. You know, you mentioned Republicans going after them, AG specifically. Ken Paxton's now suing one of the NGOs for doing just this.
Right.
There's so many of them. When you talk to anyone down at the border, they tell you that the NGOs are the core of the issue. And the NGOs are funded by George Soros and even us, actually. Our taxpayer money goes to the NGOs. So when you're trying to track down and see how much money this is costing American taxpayers, it's so
big.
difficult to do.
And to our censorship as well. I remember reading a report recently detailing how a lot of our tax dollars are going towards media organizations that are literally going out there colluding with social media companies to, of course, stop independent journalism, stop critical thinking, stop giving people a perspective that they normally wouldn't get outside of the corporate world purview, which is absolutely infuriating because, again, tax season is upon us. It's frustrating. It's so... aggravating because they destroy so many businesses. They destroy so many enterprises. For financial, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And where's my money going? What do I have to show for this? I mean, people even make the argument, and I think it's a flawed argument, that, in some European countries, they take a lot of taxes, but we have a lot to show for it. I disagree with that sentiment, but I could kind of understand it comparatively to what's happening here, as, of course, our tax rate is getting just as high as some European countries. And what we're getting from it is literally the weaponization of human trafficking and the prices of everything going up and everything around us just literally being lit on fire.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Luke, they're also sleepwalking us into World War III. They also have shredded the Bill of Rights. So, I feel like it's a bargain. You pay that kind of taxes, and this is what they do to you. No, I mean, your point is well taken, and it's really tragic. And I agree with you. I don't understand how we are taxed to oblivion, and then this is what we get as a response. And yet there isn't that much uproar in the country over everything that's happening. And I think that's what really concerns me. But I mean, to add to the insanity of it, we are currently paying for the weaponry on the Israeli side and the aid on the Gazan side. We are funding the aid to the people that are being bombed on the other side of the war of the bombs that we are funding.
Aid that we have to literally airlift in. We're going to be playing those videos on Rumble where we could talk about this issue a little bit more freely. Sure. As of course, this is something that we have a joint operation in. There's also sources of American soldiers, boots on the ground there. But we have to literally we can't deliver the aid. We have to literally airdrop it. That makes no
into
sense.
The water.
Yeah,
and you see all these. We'll cover it later. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. As of course, we have another article here from also the Daily Mail that describes how the ex-border chief that was, just recently let go from his position reveals that he actually never even spoke to Biden or Kamala once during his 2-year tenure, as he's describing how the agent in charge of 2,000 guards is saying that cartels are winning the situation on the southern border right now. And of course, they are. As of course, if you look at the situation, who's Joe Biden trying to court? Well, all the illegal criminal organizations that are profiting off of this. Who else is getting anything out of this? Who are we helping? As of course, a lot of the people who are brought in on a bunch of lies. They're told a bunch of crap that's not true. They're flown around everywhere and told, hey, yeah, some of you guys might get hotels. Some of you other guys have to sleep on the streets here. Good luck here. Go take care of yourself. We'll try to give you some of the money. Some people do get the money. Some don't. But again, the fact that there's very little communication, that very little people know what's really going on here. But when you look at the picture, how else can you not see it other than a weaponized attack against the American people? What else are we missing here other than just an obvious declaration from this administration?
This was the predecessor to Mayorkas, is who you're talking about?
This is Raul Ortiz. He was the head of Border Patrol for 2 years up until May of 2023.
Okay. Well, I think what's remarkable is that Mayorkas, there was reports a couple days ago saying that he was actually on the board of, I think it was HIAS and a handful of other of these NGOs. To your point about how hard it is to track down where this funding is coming from, the U.S. is I think 65% of NATO funding, or of UN funding rather, and the UN is where much of the NGOs get their funding from. So, in reality, I'd say if you want to just make it simple math, 2/3 of the funding to all of these NGOs that are assisting with this, migrant crisis is coming from the U.S. taxpayer. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We have the comments here from 60 Minutes that we're just going to play here.
You don't
right
just
now.
plant a flag just to plant a flag. It's got to be strategic and it's got to make sense.
Raul Ortiz served as chief of the U.S. Border Patrol under President Biden and deputy chief under President Trump. He retired last year.
When agencies are making a decision based upon politics or whether they're going to get media coverage, hey, we're going to put all our personnel in this 2-mile stretch. What about the other 200 miles?
In our interview, Ortiz criticized Governor Abbott for not cooperating with the Border Patrol and playing politics with immigration. But he also expressed frustration with President Biden.
I've never had one conversation with the president or the vice president for that matter. And so I was the chief of the Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people. That's a problem.
I just saw 50 people today who had just crossed the border illegally. So something's not working.
We need to make sure that Central America, South America, Mexico, that those regions understand that if you pay a smuggler and you cross in between the ports of entry and you do not have a legitimate claim to some sort of asylum benefit, you're going to be sent back.
Do you believe that the White House has sent mixed messages to migrants?
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely, especially the mayors of a lot of jurisdictions, including the mayor of New York City, that literally has conflicting messages on this entire saga saying, hey, come on in, it's a sanctuary city. Then saying we're full, and then saying, hey, we have debit cards here that you guys will get, as well as luxury hotels, all financed by the tax dollars that, of course, we just can't get enough of in New York City, as they're also looking into introducing congestion charges just for driving into Manhattan. What's happening in New York City is absolutely the epitome of a failed state, of a city that was once great. It was once incredible. I lived in New York City. I grew up in New York City from the 90s, the early 2000s. It was an incredible, impeccable city that had this energy, had this kind of residency to it that was amazing. It could make you or it could break you, and I felt like you could get anything done in New York City. And then the longer I kind of stayed there, the more I visit, the more I hear stories, the less I see any kind of opportunities for any kind of person living there, and more totalitarianism, more track, trace, and database, more taxes, more regulations, more rules, with the ability for you not to even defend yourself if you get attacked, as many people have been politically prosecuted in New York City, a place that used to be one of the greatest cities in all of the United States, some people would argue, in the world. But right now, it's an utter crap hole. I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah, well, the New York governor over there, Kathy Hochul, is allowing illegals to actually start taking state jobs. So those well-paying jobs that are coming from the state, they can actually jump on board.
She's promising them those jobs too.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting. And these are jobs that normally you'd have to have basics like a high school education, speak English, and they're going to lower their standards to bring these people on. And it's also interesting. The New York Post a couple of weeks ago came out with their estimates regarding the Venezuelans who were brought into New York. And ultimately, Biden did allow them to start working, getting temporary work permits. And out of the over 150,000 of these Venezuelans who came in illegally, only 2% of have actually applied for those work permits. So they're not looking for work. We lie when we say that they are. They are looking to mooch off the system, and rightfully so. I mean, New York will even pay your college tuition if you're illegal. It was one of the reasons why I left, because it was just becoming so outrageous. And it's expensive to live there. And then if you're looking for affordable housing, you're getting kicked off the list, and an illegal is taking over your slot. So Americans are becoming second-class citizens, but I think everyone at home should know something. I think it's really important. If you're sitting there and just saying, it's New York, it's a liberal city, it's a liberal state, understand something. They're gonna go into bankruptcy soon. They cannot afford this anymore. What's gonna happen? They're gonna ask the federal government for a bailout, as well as California soon. Yep. And so this will become everyone's problem shortly.
Yep. Well, I think that the answer though has to be that we reject that, and you know, whether or not we'll be able to get enough of an uproar going that they could actually allow them to default. I think that would be the most righteous course of action, just given that if you bail people out, it's the exact same argument we had during the Occupy Wall Street era, when you saw all of these banks that were doing these liar loans and these no income, no job, no problem type of loans, and then they get bailed out. Well, what comes after that? You're not going to see a course correction in bad behavior. You're going to see more of it, and they're going to double down. And that's exactly what the governors of blue states are doing. They know that they're ultimately going to have either congressional bailouts, or Biden, who has demonstrated he has no problem using executive power to do all sorts of crazy unconstitutional stuff, like writing off student loans. I could see them taking all sorts of angles to try and bail these people out, but it can't happen. If you behave in this fashion as a governor of a state, you should absolutely have to suffer the consequences. And if the people continue to vote for it, then they should suffer the consequences too. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, the bailouts are absolutely criminal. Not just the banking bailouts in 2008, but whenever the state intervenes, when something deliberately fails and it doesn't allow it to fail, you're prolonging what is inevitable. When you look at the debt, you look at all the money, you look at all the grants, you look at just the severity of this entire situation, it's perplexing, because you are literally seeing the destruction of a state. You're seeing the destruction of one of the greatest cities that ever was, in my opinion. And again, I'm biased. I grew up there. I loved it there. But it's not the same city. It's a city with less hope, less opportunities, and there's no way to even run a business there from my perspective, unless you're a multinational corporation, unless you get a bunch of grants. But as a small mom and pop business, there's a reason why those those pretty much don't exist in New York City anymore, and that's criminal. That's taken away the life from this city that used to be very vivid, that used to be very energetic, and now all you have is JP Morgan Chase, CVS, McDonald's, Starbucks on almost every single street corner. And that kind of Disneyfication of the city, that kind of sucking out of life from the city, as you have police officers making sure that people don't post anything negative on social media while they're allowing crime to get crazy. It's just disappointing, and why I fled to places like Florida, and a lot of other people have as well.
There's one other really important bailout that people don't talk about enough, and that is the 2020 bailouts, which Trump bragged about his big, beautiful, record-breaking, 2.6 trillion or whatever it was bills. Those were bailouts, ladies and gentlemen. Those were bailouts to corporations that were forced to shut down temporarily. And had they not done those bailouts, we would have never stayed locked down as long as we did. We would have never had the supply chain breakdowns that we did. We would have never had the inflation that we're suffering under today. Bailouts are always a bad idea, even during a pandemic. So I think people should just learn the lesson and stop falling for it time and time again.
Yeah, the 15 days to slow the spread were definitely a mistake there. And I think it's time we kind of realize that. I was pissed off that they were giving away checks. I was like, why are we giving out $2,000 checks, which the government couldn't even do adequately. They couldn't even do that properly. But behind that, well, that was just a drop in a bucket compared to all the secret bailouts that were happening behind the scenes that not a lot of us were even privy to, as the Federal Reserve was literally going to all these huge institutions and being like, oh, you had a loss here? Don't worry, it's our loss. It's the people's loss here. Oh, you made a profit? You get to keep that there, buddy. That's not a free market. We're living under already huge forms of socialism that a lot of people don't realize, even though there's a lot of crazy far leftists screaming about the pitfalls of capitalism here.
Yeah.
This is not capitalism.
No, this is actually fascism. And the bailouts that you're talking about with the corporations, they gave them loans, and that's how they justified it to the American people. They said that these are loans. They'll be no interest loans. But the truth is that if you maintained your employees through that period, they would end up forgiving those loans, which means that they gave you that money. So we're talking, you think you got a sweetheart deal getting your $2,000. We're talking millions of dollars to many, many, many businesses all across the country. The biggest businesses in the country made absolute windfall profits during a lockdown pandemic. If that doesn't disturb you, you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, talking about the former president of the United States, he just made some very interesting comments, essentially telling Joe Biden to use his policies and to close the border now. Now, I don't think Joe Biden will listen to him because he doesn't have any cognitive skills. Yeah. But I think this is one reason why Donald Trump is as popular as he is. As of course, he was the guy who said, build the wall. He was the guy that said, hey, we need to have a strong immigration policy in the United States. Now, the record is mixed here, as of course the previous guy, Barack Obama, has a little bit of a better record, especially when it comes to immigration, than Donald Trump, which is a point that not a lot of people understand. And even though a lot of people point to Trump's kind of immigration policies stopping immigration, a lot of people forget that there was a lockdown and travel restrictions that were extensively responsible for that, and that there were a lot of court battles. But I think it's clear now where Donald Trump stands, and I think this is why he's as popular as he ever has been.
Yeah, and most Americans want a wall built. I think there was just a poll recently, I think it was at 56% want to build a wall, which is something that's unheard of because even during the Trump years, most Americans didn't want one.
It's amazing.
And now they're starting to see it. Yeah. I mean, you have to give credit to Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott's been dumping a lot of these illegals into blue cities, and now people are starting to wake up and realize you're not a racist for this. You're actually just somebody who's compassionate and wants to put Americans first. And if we can't fix our own country, we can't be having more people coming into our country and dumping them into these cities. So I think people are starting to wake up. I mean, immigration is a serious issue for a lot of voters, and Democrats are going to learn the hard way come November. I just don't see this working out.
Yeah, the people of Martha's Vineyard sending off the immigrants and waving. Like, oh,
they
we
were
love
so
you.
touched.
We love you, but get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
get out of my space. This is my freaking luxury home.
We can't support you.
But we like you. We'll wave to you when we kick you out of our private property.
Yeah.
That speaks perfectly to the Democratic policies that are affecting a lot of blue collar, a lot of average, everyday Americans that are paying the price for this, as the elites, they have their private security guards, they have their fences, they have their Martha's Vineyards, they have their private property, and they don't get exposed to a lot of these problems. And, truly, if they really wanted so many migrants to come over, give them your guest room. Give them your couch. Let them stay with you. Some people are actually doing that in Massachusetts. There already have been programs that have already enlisted private individuals to, of course, have private people in their homes that illegally crossed through the border, and they're using them for cheap labor, essentially.
Slavery, some might say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, to be fair, Luke, dozens of them have been given housekeeping jobs and babysitting gigs. So it's like, it's not as if they're totally heartless.
Okay, Sharon Osbourne of The View.
Who's going to clean the toilets?
Yes, exactly.
So it's
God,
so
that was
disturbing.
a great clip.
That was a crazy clip.
That was the end of her career.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, you hear Joe Biden and everyone's talking about we need people to pick the fruits and the vegetables for us. And it's just like, hey, guys, you're talking about slavery. You know that, right? Like, we're not talking about, like, we're being kind enough to these people. We're talking about slavery. We're talking about not paying these people a livable wage, and that's why we need to bring them in.
Well, in fairness, I think a lot of these big agricultural companies certainly don't mind it. I'm sure it does benefit some of them, but the sad part is that it's the poorest people that are Americans, American born, that end up suffering as a consequence of this, because housing is totally out of control. And by the way, why would you ever, as a migrant, choose New York City today to move to? You wouldn't, because it's outrageously expensive. The only way you could even possibly live there is if you do so off of taxpayer assistance, I would assume.
And their homeland they're probably safer these days, honestly. Most people, there's so many articles from the New York Post too talking about Venezuelans saying that they're going to go back because it's so dangerous here right now in New York City. Yeah, it's great. We should pay for those tickets. I wouldn't mind. I joke all the time, but I think here in Florida, we need to put billboards up. And in those billboards, we need to list why it's important for you to leave Florida and go to New York, because here we work with ICE. New York doesn't work with ICE. They'll give you free incentives over in New York. We don't do that here. You can't work here legally. You can work in New York. So I think we need to start outlining that for people
I
so
think
that they let them move.
Florida should have a strict Cuban-only migrant.
And Slavic only.
Yes.
Even
obviously.
the Cubans don't want illegals.
I know. That's why I like the Cubans.
They stand their ground.
Let's take the Cubans. Let's take the Eastern Europeans, the former USSR. Basically, if you come from a formerly communist nation, you are welcome in the state of Florida. Otherwise, no.
My Slavic brethren, please come over immediately. We'll give you sausage and vodka. We promise we'll take care of you. And we need more Slavs more than ever. As of course, I found the clip of Kelly Osbourne with her remark about the Latinos.
favorites.
I couldn't resist not finding it and playing it for you guys.
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's not
In the
valid.
sense that,
No.
you know
In
what I
the
mean? Like,
sense
but
that
I'm saying that
there's more jobs to be
in LA, they always
but
they
Latinos are not only the
No,
only people
I didn't mean it
doing
like that. Come on. No, I would never mean it like that.
Okay.
Like, I'm not part of this argument with.
I think what you're saying is that Trump himself
And you should look out his
probably
window and
relies on a
realize
lot of
this
these people that he's
country is not-
insulting.
I think what you're trying to I'm sorry, we're still on YouTube. My apologies.
Mild racism.
That tells you perfectly what you need to understand about the immigration debate.
Well, the funny thing, though, is everybody on The View, I would bet you a huge sum of money. All of them have housekeepers that are illegals.
Yeah.
I bet you anything that's the truth. So it's just funny because she told the truth, and then now they're like, whoa.
We're not in on this.
Yeah, calm down. Calm
Stop
down.
telling the poors that we all have Latino housekeepers here, okay? Especially the Arnold Schwarzenegger ones that get really busy, if you know what I mean.
Oh, man.
That kid is jacked, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he has good genetics.
Yep.
I mean, hey, Schwarzenegger also is big into
Lots of things.
eugenics and German 1930 ideology.
Do you think that because I think he was born around that time. Do you
He
think
was,
do you
and
think
his
that-
father was a major officer in the German 1930, 1940 military. And then there's like him saying in his own words that he has adoration for this famous guy that took out a whole bunch of people from the German side. And then he also was wearing like insignia from those soldiers as well recently. And very interesting
Do you think that he was perhaps like a eugenics super soldier?
No, I don't think the technology. I don't think he's one of those Dagestani Russian super soldiers.
Okay,
but he definitely worked very hard and probably took a lot of steroids to
definitely.
get to where he was.
Yeah.
And
Lots of raw eggs.
God, I want to do a Arnie.
did he do raw eggs?
He did.
Oh yeah, by the dozens. I want to do an Arnold impersonation, but the thing I have to say is very profane, so I can't.
Save it for later.
Yeah.
Save it for Rumble, where we can actually try to be.
If you've
able
ever
to
seen the
speak
documentary
freely.
about his career, there's this one where he's talking about weightlifting that is absolutely
Oh
wild.
yeah, he's just talking about making sweet
It feels
whoopee
so good.
to Mexican cleaning
we'll
ladies.
play it on Rumble.
Yeah, a family-friendly show here. So I met some members of the people who actually watch our channel over the weekend, and then there was a guy with some kids, and he was like, "I only watch the YouTube because I can't watch everything else that you guys get into on the later portions or Luke Unfiltered."
That's cool. At least we have a family-friendly hour.
We give you guys the best of both here. The censored Kyle, Karen, NPC kind of version here on YouTube, and then on Rumble we go deep down the rabbit hole with some very.
Let's be kind. Instead of NPC version, we call it the parental version. Parental.
That's good.
Yeah, the YouTube friendly NPC version.
Yeah, just looking out for the kids in their ears and their.
Those dang kids.
I know.
Well, yeah. I mean, he had like 4 kids. He was pretty awesome.
Good for him.
And
You said that there was almost over 50 people showed up?
yeah, it was incredible.
Dude,
it was
that's
awesome.
rad.
Someone didn't
We
show up
missed
there
you.
though. Yeah, I heard someone had an
plans
appointment
plans
to
with my dada.
wax their bonus holes. Right?
Whoa,
What?
that is not what I
No,
told
Clint
you.
was doing cool stuff with his dad, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's so cool. It's cool. You got to pass if you don't come."
My dad had been out of town for a couple months. I'm sorry. I will be at the next one. I love and miss all of you.
You can't miss those waxing appointments. As
That's
of course,
not what I was doing. My bonus hole is all natural.
it's Harry.
Oh my
right, Steph?
gosh, how do you know, Luke?
I know. I was going to ask for where to get the reference point from.
Luke's
no
been in
comment.
there.
Luke and I are very close.
You got to vet them. You got to investigate them before working with
Wow.
them. So
Wow, it's a TSA over here.
get the blue glove treatment.
Can we tell the audience the guests that you said that we're booking? I'm very excited
Who?
that you said it right before we started the show.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Carrie Lake, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited. That lady is very, very gifted politician. I'm very anxious to talk to her.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's incredible. We also have the whole month booked out all the way until mid-April, I believe. We have a lot of really cool people. Who's that other big guy that we're having?
Nick
I forgot.
Fuentes.
Well, you can't even say that name here.
Oops. I'm just joking. We don't have him on.
Yeah,
He's a racist and dangerous. I would never.
Yeah, we're never going to have those conversations.
There's the other guy, Sam Hyde. Can we say that name?
Yep. Sam Hyde's
All
going
right,
to be
yeah.
on here, so we're going to have a lot of really awesome people.
Also a dangerous racist, which I disavow while we're on YouTube. I love him
Disavow
on
everybody, including all of our guests,
Including myself.
including YouTube, Brianna. Disavow totally. So we're
know.
totally safe here.
You guys should do this in Morse code.
Or no, even better, smoke signals.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna start sending out you guys smoke signal messages to what we really want to say
That
out
reminds
there.
me, we're having Elizabeth Warren on.
Are we really?
No, that was just a smoke signal joke.
But yeah, she's welcome. Opposition people are welcome as well. I'm thinking about inviting what's it called, the Krasensteins.
Yeah.
I think because we believe in free speech here, and we might disagree with some of the people we bring on as guests, but I think it's worth having those conversations with people from all different political spectrums. So Krasensteins, you guys are also welcome. You guys are also in Florida. Let's have that conversation.
Live debate, Brian.
It probably will be a debate, but
Oh,
it doesn't even have to be a debate. A lot of other channels do blood sports and they do drama and arguing. We don't really do that here. I think it's just fair. Even when we had people who were big statists and big politicians, they were like, I think we need welfare. And we're like, this is why I don't think we need welfare. And they're like, okay. And then that's it. That's the conversation that you could expect having here. As of course, we also have a super chat from Red Viking who said, taste Steph until she gives us the vice president. I think you mean tase Steph until she gives us the vice president. Why are you holding the vice president, Steph? What are you doing?
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm looking at Clint like, save me. What is this question?
I think it's a joke that you're holding. Maybe it's because I didn't go to the event and I'm running for vice president. I don't know.
Maybe it's a little late in the reading and it was like passing by through our conversation.
Probably.
Now it's out of context.
Yeah.
All right, continuing on with the conversation, we also got huge news out of Texas as a federal appeals court just ruled that there's going to be an immigration law taking effect, essentially ruling that Texas can now arrest illegal immigrants. This is going to be, I think, a major move. I think with the way that Texas has has been kind of operating here, they probably will be doing something like this. And we could definitely expect the jail cells to be absolutely full, just like all the migrant centers that, of course, just literally let people in and out here. How do you guys think this will play out here? Will the Supreme Court now also try to rule here against this? Will they intervene? Or will Texas actually be able to implement a policy that could stop some of this immigration?
Those left-wing groups are going to keep taking them to court on this one. I don't see this one going away anytime soon. But I'm a little critical of Greg Abbott. I don't understand what took so long. I know it's probably been the last 6 months where he's kind of been ramping it up. But I mean, this has been going on for 3 years now, and he's just getting involved. We should have been doing this a long time ago. There should have been barbed wire laid down on top of wire, and we should have just kept going with this. I just don't understand why it's now just getting aggressive. It seems like there's a political push, especially because everyone's talking about him potentially being VP for Trump. I don't see that happening, hopefully, but we never know.
Yeah.
So
I would prefer Paxton over him.
But Paxton has those criminal charges that are coming up. So I think you can't have two people fighting criminal charges.
Why not?
That's the ticket.
You already have Trump facing 750 years. Paxton, that we just throw it on top. I agree.
Now all the cool people are facing charges.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of people you could pick out of that are not facing any kind of charges.
I'm hopeful that I don't become a cool person anytime soon, but you're absolutely right.
There.
What's that?
I'm working my way there.
Yeah,
these days.
No, me too. Just telling the truth. That's very quickly becoming criminalized. But I agree with your assessment of Abbott. It's just so obvious that it's controlled opposition, that the GOP by and large does not care about this issue. To pretend as if they didn't already have the right to do so. I mean, all he had to do was do what he's doing now, and it would have been challenged. It would have been challenged years ago, and it would have came down with the same ruling almost certainly. So I think that the truth is that they don't want to deal with this. I think that their big donors come from probably agricultural companies and large corporations, which don't mind a deflationary impact on labor costs. And for them, it's a benefit. But for the people of Texas, I know that this is very unpopular. So I find it offensive that they take victory laps after doing what they should have been doing all along.
Yeah.
And in court of laws, they're able also to stop a lot of policies from moving forward and to stop a lot of politicians from taking action. And I agree, Abbott has been not the best of governors. He definitely has been kind of following in the footsteps, especially the last kind of 4 years, in the footsteps of the governor of Florida, especially when it came to making moves for liberty-minded policies in response to a lot of the lockdowns and mandates that a lot of people faced. And he definitely is someone that makes a lot of very interesting statements that are kind of disappointing, that are kind of perplexing, that are kind of like, really? You're the governor of Texas. You're really making this stance here? You're really making this appointment here? As, of course, people responded to this story by saying, arrest someone for doing something illegal? The horror of it all. And that shows you what's going on here. So there probably will be more legal battles upon legal battles. And let's be honest here, if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, he probably will face a lot of legal battles surrounding immigration that will prevent him from acting, that will prevent him from doing anything legitimate. As some people are saying that Donald Trump immediately, if he becomes president of the United States, should start deporting people. Do you think he will, though? Do you think that's a policy that he will be able to get away with? As, of course, I think I already see the framework being laid out here to stop him and derail him for doing so.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate these days. I think what's going to happen is you see them pumping all these people into communities and helping them build and establish families and living here. And so that when Trump does come around to winning in November, which I'm hopeful for, they will sit there, CNN, MSNBC, they're going to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, look at him tearing apart this family. And it's going to be the most sensitive stories. But again, we're not hearing about the reality. The reality is Joe Biden stopped doing DNA testing. So all these family units that were coming to the border with children, they were just saying, hey, we're a family. And then they're just shuffling them into different places. And those kids potentially could have been kidnapped.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. And we're seeing this all the time. It's so disgusting. But I think Trump's going to have an uphill battle. I think we have to keep reminding Americans about what this actually does to them. And I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet with immigration. So I think we're going to have to keep going.
I don't think we're even close to rock bottom. I mean, we're talking about like approximately 3 million annually. That is such an enormous number compared to people. Like, just to give it scale, people should need to understand this. Throughout my entire lifetime, it was like 250,000 a year. So we're talking like 8 to 10x to 12x annually. That is just it's gonna shift this nation in a way that's extraordinarily dramatic. And this is coming from someone who has been pretty pro-immigration throughout my entire life. But when you see these types of numbers, you have to realize that's going to cause tremendous civil strife and social, discohesion. I'm very nervous about where this is taking us, and I believe strongly that this is a plot against us.
I don't even believe the current numbers are being given. I know
I don't
Fox
either.
constantly reports them. They're probably double that at this point because they don't want you to know what's actually going on at the border.
Completely agree.
Even
5, 6, 7 million. I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, when they tell you that they've only caught 150 suspected terrorists at the border, you could probably triple that. They don't want you to know how bad it is. So the only way we're ever going to figure this out, because I've submitted so many FOIA requests, they don't respond, they don't give you any information, is if there's going to be a whistleblower within any of these federal agencies that tells you honestly what's going on. Otherwise, you're not going to figure it out.
And you got to imagine that with what they're doing with the current whistleblower, I'm forgetting his name, or multiple whistleblowers.
Yeah, there's so many
that are being prosecuted now. I would be surprised if someone has the courage to actually stand up and tell the truth at this point. I mean, we are really living in kind of like Russian Revolution days where if you stand up, you'll get hammered down. We need courage, though. We need people that are willing to take those risks because the truth is most important.
Yeah, that's why they do it, though. They don't want you coming out and
Of
speaking
course,
out.
yeah.
I mean,
that's why they've done what they've done to Assange. That's why they've done what they've done to Snowden. I mean, they really do not want you to know the truth of their depravity. And when you tell it, they're going to punish you big time.
Yeah, they rule in fear and secrecy, and that's why a lot of this stuff we don't even know about. We're paying for it. We're being footed with the bill. And they're just getting away with it and saying, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, we're flying people in. Yeah, we're opening up the border. Yeah, we're going to make sure states can't do anything in response to this. And we saw this in Europe, and we saw the effects of this on Europe. And many, many years ago, I was in Italy. I was in France when a lot of these policies were implemented. In the same way that they were implemented in Europe, they're being implemented right now in the United States. There are going to be some consequences. There is going to be a major price that's going to be paid for these reckless policies. And as of right now, it is one of the major issues that is making Joe Biden one of the least popular presidents out there, as even The New Yorker had an article that was titled Joe Biden's Last Campaign. And a lot of fellow Democrats are really not happy about his policies in the Middle East. And a lot of everyday Americans aren't happy with his immigration policies that are becoming at the center of this election cycle, that are becoming absolutely critical to look at and to investigate. And we can't even investigate it.
I can't tell you a single thing I'm happy with. Not a thing. What is Joe Biden doing that's a positive? Anybody? Anything?
I've never been a Joseph Biden supporter, so I wouldn't even be able to ask.
Yeah, well, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
I literally can't think of anything that he's doing that's a positive. That's crazy. There's always been something, like at least one thing. At least with Obama, he talked about shutting down Gitmo. Did he do it? No, but at least he was talking about it. Trump obviously didn't start any new wars. George W. Bush, there was some corporate, there's some minor tax cuts. It's I can't think of a single thing that Biden's doing that I actually favor. It's amazing. I don't know how he has even 25 or 30%. I assume it's all people that have received student loan write-downs that's his base. That's all he's got left.
But hey, he eats fried chicken with black families.
Yeah, well, that's
so
awesome.
there's that.
Just like Hillary keeps hot sauce in her purse.
He did that.
These people have tremendous street cred. It's just amazing to me that this guy is running again. I for the life of me, if the Democrats' bench is so shallow that this is the best they can do, wow, they are in rough shape.
I mean, listen, I still think with the way that things are going, it's going to be a lot closer of an election than a lot of people expect it to be.
I know you're right, but it's just it's wild to me.
Yeah. And
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people, they're like, I could vote from my apartment with some random guy walking up to me and giving me a ballot, and I could just fill it out right now and have him go. Yeah, why not? And with the Zuckerbucks, with the Facebook, with the larger harvesting efforts that have been brought out in the last election, they're just going to do it again. Joe Biden didn't run the last time. He was in his basement. He wasn't doing any kind of events. He wasn't publicly speaking. He literally was hiding out. The corporate media was kind of saying, hey, this is going to be our guy to take down Trump. And the majority of people voted against Trump rather than for Joe Biden.
I'm sure they'll do that again. But this gave me a memory that is still one of my favorites from the 2020 era when he was running and he did a public event to talk to his supporters. And his base was so afraid of the air that they did it from their vehicles. So he was on stage talking to a bunch of cars.
I remember that.
I mean, talk about dystopia. But I wanted to bring up something about the 360-something thousand that they're flying into the cities. You know, Shane Cashman, who does Timcast all the time, great writer, by the way. I think he titled it "The Inverted World" or something to that effect. They said that they can't tell you where these 300,000+ people are being dumped off because that would be a national security threat. Think about how inverted their world is. That for us to know where they're putting them, that's a national security threat. Not the 360,000 people from all these other countries that are just coming into your neighborhoods. That's not a national security threat to you. I just really think people need to realize that their priorities are totally totally detached from the priorities of the American people.
That's intentional, though. I think.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. I don't think that's accidental at this point. I think that they don't care about Americans. I think they just keep reminding us about this every day, whether it's foreign aid or it's just shipping people into our country who are a threat to public safety. I mean, it's like how many times we have to see all these headlines of all these sexual assault cases, murders, stabbings, and it's people that shouldn't have been here in the first place. So yes, 100% preventable, but then the regime doesn't want to do anything about it. So it's intentional.
You know what's really terrible too is that immigrants historically have always had prejudice and bias against them. All of us probably are products of immigrants, and it's like you have that's really the ethos of America, though. It's like yes, it does. Obviously, it creates some problems, but still, like immigration has made America what it is. But it's like once you get to these numbers, and once you start to not vet, and once you start to have more and more cases of very vicious criminality, what you're going to see is a very nativistic, reactionary, populist rebellion against immigrants broadly, the peaceful ones, the ones that come here for the right reasons. And I just think that's tragic because I think that legal immigration probably should be doubled, but the illegal immigration should be brought down as close to zero as humanly possible. In that scenario, you don't have this uptick in violent crime that makes the native population very, very angry at the migrant population. And it just seems to me like they're setting us up for a real, hard right-wing kind of dictator style leadership in the not too distant future. And that scares me just as much as the communist takeover does right now.
Well, the left takes away your rights and your money, and the right takes away your money and your rights. But they just do it a little bit differently on a different little time scale, and they have different excuses, and they have different countries that they like to bomb and to go after. But essentially, when you look at their larger MO, a lot of the deeper kind of establishment types, they speak from the same kind of mouth. They speak from the same kind of body that represents the larger corporate interests that have essentially hijacked our government and are truly calling the shots. By the way, I pulled up a video of Joe Biden, I think
talking
it was
to the
4
cars.
years ago, talking to a cars at a rally saying, honk if you want America to be united again.
Again.
I
If you want America to trust each other again.
Hey, at least he was spry here.
If you want America to be united again.
Anybody there?
This isn't a massive crowd.
Talk about the fear.
We
Talk about the
cannot
This was in
afford
Iowa. But he did this all throughout the United States. He did this in Georgia. He did this in Philadelphia. He did this in Pittsburgh, where he literally, they couldn't get enough people to show up for the rally, so they had people show up in cars. And they were literally at the drive-thrus with 30 cars, maybe 50 cars, literally honking, literally standing there, literally just sitting in front of a garage, giving his campaign speeches. That's what passed 4 years ago. What's going to happen now? I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of Republicans expect it to be. Look at what happened in 2022. Everyone was saying there's going to be a big recall against the lockdowns, the mandates, all the horrible stuff that the Democrats put us through. We are finally going to have a recall against Bidenomics. Nope, that didn't happen.
I don't think a single lockdown governor actually lost their spot.
Yeah, that's the Kathy Hochul, literally elected for the first time.
Hochul, Newsom,
Whitmore.
Whitmer.
Goodness.
I mean, the worst of the absolute worst of the political establishment, people that absolutely ruined millions of children's lives, and the American people were like, I want more. That to me, I mean, this is why I'm a refugee too from California. It's crazy to me the level of abuse that people not just will permit, but actually say thank you for. That's scary.
Yeah, Brianna, I don't know if you have any kind of predictions about what you think is going to be happening here, but I remember a long time ago, I'm like, hey, the way that we're going, there might not even be a freaking election. Yeah. Now, I'm kind of thinking the most radical and craziest thing will happen. It is going to be Biden and Trump, and Biden probably will win.
Oh, my God.
I think that's my controversial prediction here. That's what I think might actually happen here, as it looks like they did it once. Why wouldn't they do it again? I don't know if you have any predictions or thoughts. A lot of people say that Biden is going to be replaced here. I don't think he is.
I see your face looks like you're in agony. You're like, 4 more years?
Well, I don't know if I can say the two words I want to say, which starts with an E and ends with an F. But so we won't say it. But I was thinking that they were going to squeeze Newsom into this race, but then I think after
that's what I thought too.
Yeah, but I think that they realized that after his whole CCP meetup that he wasn't really qualified for this.
I'm surprised that didn't make him qualified. That seems like exactly what Joe.
He was asking for their blessing. I guess they didn't get it. I mean, people are pitching Michelle Obama. She is very likable because nobody attacks her. So that would be really, really tough.
She's a protected class.
Yeah, she is, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But again, I don't see Biden making it to the end on this. I don't see anyone voting for him on the end of this. I just can't see it. Like I don't physically see people being excited going out to the polls and going, I'm going to go with the guy who literally can't even speak because they have to drug him up so much. Yeah. It's so, I mean, I hope it's Trump, but I mean, I was a DeSantis person originally, so I don't really have good instincts on this.
But at the same time, Biden wasn't speaking well the last time around. He wasn't. He wasn't there the last time around.
They protected him though. That's the difference. He doesn't have that protection anymore. I mean, the left is going after him now, saying that he's on a decline, and so I don't know.
CNN,
I've got a lot to say about this, but I'm going to save it for Rumble because we will absolutely get nuked.
I think it really has to do with the VP, like the people that they say that they're going to run with. I think that's going to really determine a lot.
Whoever is Biden's VP, if he wins, is the next president of the United States. Because I would bet my life savings times 1,000 that there's no way that Biden is even alive through the next 5 years. Like, can anybody even envision that?
I can. This far.
He'll be like the Crypt Keeper. They'll just keep pumping him up with stuff. Hey, modern technology, modern science is pretty amazing. Yeah, even though the guy has 2 major brain aneurysms and like metal stents in his head.
He seems like he's doing great. Yeah, modern medicine has really fixed him right now.
They'll just bring Biden 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 out, and it's like, I mean. I really do think my controversial take right now, election happens like it is, Biden wins. I really think that's going to be the situation here. I hope I'm wrong, but it does seem like a lot of the efforts to throw Donald Trump off of the ballot are absolutely failing. The Supreme Court ruled overwhelmingly today that Donald Trump can stay on the Colorado ballot, as of course this was the major talking point of the news today, that this was a big win for America, as of course now it looks like the Democrats are trying to announce a bill that could kick Trump off of the ballot immediately, even after this Supreme Court ruling that says that he could stay on. As of course CNN was talking about Congress taking action here. And will they? Well, probably not. I don't think they can get rid of him. I think the Supreme Court ruled here. I think it's pretty clear that other states can't do this as well. I think the law and the constitutionality of this has already been figured out. But will this stop them from doing more dirty tricks? I think they'll try. I don't think they'll be successful. What do you guys think?
Well, in order to defend democracy, you have to actually intervene and you have to corrupt it. And that's what their plan is for right now.
That's right. I'm glad you've learned. I mean,
now we know how the game works.
It's so true, though. Like this entire talking point about defending democracy, it's just like the national security threat for us knowing where they're putting these 360,000 migrants. It's inverted world.
It's for your own good.
Of course, but I mean, it's so infuriating. I feel like they're trying to drive me crazy, and I don't know how people like put up with this. I'm serious. Like, especially with the lockdowns, like the social distancing and saying like it's all healthy and stuff, and how there'd be no negative consequences.
But that's what birthed you. Like that is what made.
Oh look, there's silver linings to tyranny. Of course, I mean people become revolutionary leaders. And
stuff.
Yeah,
you make good friends in the gulags. You know, you really have a lot of bonding moments.
The porridge is delicious.
Oh my gosh,
you appreciate bread so much more after you get out.
Bread.
You lose so much weight.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I think Democrats are doing this intentionally, though. I don't think they actually thought they had a legitimate shot at this in Colorado. I think what they're doing is they're trying to overwhelm the Supreme Court with a bunch of like ridiculous lawsuits and cases to take up. Yep. And that when they start going over the election stuff and start getting their election challenges, the Supreme Court's going to be so overwhelmed they're not going to be able to take on some stuff.
Well, I think the big angle is that they're actually trying to get popular support amongst their base to pack the Supreme Court. Yeah. I really think that's their long-term plan. I don't think it's like imminent or anything, but I think it's not too far off. And if they do that, this country is over. Yeah. I can't overstate how damaging that would be. The only thing that has kept us on this side of full totalitarianism is the fact that there's a handful of decent Supreme Court justices. If they can pack it, and if they could have it be, I don't know, 11 to 15 or something like that, or 11 to 4 or whatever, we're toast.
Yeah, Keith Olbermann wants to actually just dissolve the whole Supreme Court. Yep. Well, I have one.
And he didn't go into details, but what do you think he's prescribing there?
There's no thought.
We get rid of it, and then what, Keith?
Oh, he just wants one person ruling the country.
Well, what if that's Trump next time, Keith? Did you ponder that one, buddy?
No.
God, what a terrible human
the
being.
Republicans really didn't think about that one after 2001, and now we're in this larger mess with the weaponization of the DOJ, which is criminalizing political dissent. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all on Rumble in just a little bit before we head over there. We do have a statement from the Democratic Colorado Secretary of State that had this to say after the Supreme Court reaction.
My larger reaction is disappointment. I do believe that states should be able, under our Constitution, to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists. And ultimately, this decision leaves open the door for Congress to act, to pass authorizing legislation. But we know that Congress is a nearly non-functioning body. So ultimately, it will be up to the American voters to save our democracy in November.
Crazy eyes say it all.
Save democracy.
Wait. She said it's going to be up to the voters to save democracy. That's what democracy is, you absolute lunatic. What are you talking about?
Do you like how they say that he's an insurrectionist, but they actually haven't charged him with it? I'm pretty sure if they had like an ounce of evidence that he was an insurrectionist, they would have charged him with that. And so it's laughable. Yeah, they don't have anything. She's just a horrible person. There's no other way to describe somebody who's like that.
She's like, I tried to save you, but I failed, and now it's up to you to save yourself by voting in a democratic process to save democracy. Oh,
yeah. You can't
people
vote for
crazy.
You can't vote for your favorite candidate. That's what we're supposed to decide for you.
Yes.
But that's democracy.
You can only vote for one candidate, and that's how you save democracy. Come on, man.
Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous, and I think things will only get more ridiculous from here the closer we get to this election. As of course, there's going to be a lot of disinformation. There's going to be a lot of propaganda. There's going to be a lot of things censored from the general public. And a lot of it is probably going to happen on this platform that you're watching this channel on. And this is why every hour into the broadcast, we make a transition. Not that one that you're thinking of with Clinton here, but a real one from the technocratic gulag space that is YouTube, that is Facebook, that is everywhere else. And then we all go to, of course, rumble.com. Rumble.com/WeAreChange is where the conversation will be continuing, and we hope to see you there. It's more important for you guys to vote with your clicks, with your attention, and that's one quick and easy way to do it. Sign up on Rumble, set up an account, even if it's a dummy account, even if it's PP Poo Poo 420 username, doesn't matter. Just sign up. It really does mean a lot, especially when you click the notification button, because us voting with our attention, voting with our clicks matters a lot more than you guys know about. We also have another mysuperchat.com from Lane Boy, who says, call me easily convinced, but I think Dr. Shiva makes a good case against Trump and RFK. I was already leaning towards distrusting them because I just can't stand connections to the Middle East donors. Any chance we'll see Dr. Shiva as a guest at some point? Yeah, I think Dr. Shiva would be great, but probably a conversation that will be more centered around Rumble, as I think he also got into some trouble here on this particular platform. Again, we're not going to get into trouble. We're going to say what we want and express ourselves freely on Rumble, which we hope you guys join us for that particular conversation. Brianna, before we move over from all the other platforms, where can people find you and support your work?
Okay, so we're supposed to be on YouTube. Not my favorite, though. You could just find us at BriannaMorello.com, and then that's the links to Rumble, to Twitter. That's where my best work is.
Is it 2 R's, 2 L's?
BREANNAMORELLO.
Okay, 1 R, 2 L's.
I know.
Just want to make
Lots
sure.
of repetitive letters in that.
Yeah. Clint Russell, CLINTRUSSELL, 2 S's, 2 L's, at Liberty Lock Pod on Twitter. If you want to support my work, you can subscribe there. Liberty Lockdown's the show. I also co-host Tower Gang, which you should never watch, but it's very important that you subscribe to both Liberty Lockdown and the Best Political Show so that you never miss an episode. Steph, let's take us over to Rumble.
All right, let's go to Rumble. Steph WeAreChange on Instagram, Steph WRC on X.
How's your time at the meetup that I had to force you to go to?
Oh my goodness.
Was it
I
fun?
loved it. It was such a great time. I got to meet a lot of people.
Are you
Atlas
lying?
had a good time.
Did you
No,
have
I'm
fun?
not lying.
It feels like Lester. Did you actually enjoy it?
I did. He had
Okay.
to, he did run, he did have to push me out of the house, but that's just because I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm like busy doing a bunch of other things behind the scenes. Go right now, rumble.com. We appreciate you guys immensely for being here with us on a platform that actually respects free speech, but also stands up for free speech and fights for free speech. We also have a caller lined up for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. That caller coming to you in 30 minutes. If you are a member of LukeUnfiltered,